Alright, man. We got an educational video. I know y'all love keeping up to date with y'all educational videos, so let's get to it. The ugly truth about Ozempic. Y'all out here using that Ozempic, that zippy hitting up shit and that shit. Man, you don't want to be doing that, man. Go out there in the gym and hit that natural shit, man.
A miracle drug for people battling obesity. It's trending on TikTok, selling out in pharmacies, and it might even be the reason your favorite celebrity suddenly dropped 25 pounds. On today's episode of the Infographic Show, we're asking, does Ozempic actually work? Ozempic's secret isn't cooked up in a lab. It's found in the venom of the Gila monster, a lizard native to the deserts of the southwestern U.S. and parts of Mexico. We're serious. In the 1990s, scientists realized a compound from the Gila monster's venom suppressed hunger, just like human-produced hormones, only lasting longer. And in 2017, Ozempic was born out of lizard spit. It's become the most famous weight loss medication in the world.
Y'all are out here putting lizard spit in y'all body to lose weight, gang?
And made its Danish manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, very rich. The company surpassed $500 billion in market value in early 2024, thanks to almost solely Ozempic's success. The drug's real name is semaglutide, and it was originally designed and marketed for people with type 2 diabetes. There are also other semaglutide brands like Wegovy and brands with similar substances like Mounjaro, but Ozempic is by far the most famous with an almost 70% market share in North America. Semaglutide is a GLP-1 agonist, meaning it mimics a hormone your body already makes called glucagon-like peptide 1. This hormone helps...
What?
Hormone your body already makes called glucagon-like peptide 1.
Glucagon-like peptide 1.
This hormone helps your pancreas release insulin when your blood sugar rises, keeping glucose levels in check. GLP-1 also stops the liver from making too much sugar. It slows down digestion so food stays in your stomach longer, making you feel fuller longer. All of that is why it was originally so effective for treating diabetes. But during 2017 clinical trials, doctors noticed a strange side effect in a lot of the patients taking the drug: weight loss. Participants, many of whom were significantly overweight, a frequent cause of type 2 diabetes, lost up to 15% of their body weight, though that ended up being a little bit misleading, as you'll soon see. But weight loss makes sense since the effects of GLP-1 cause people to eat less without having to worry about consciously restricting calories. And that is one of the big appeals of Ozempic. It doesn't make dieting feel like dieting. Instead of dealing with hunger pains while forcing down the second kale smoothie of the day, your body just won't be that hungry, and it'll get full faster. So you don't even have to try to eat less, you just will. Like actor Josh Gad says about his experience, the GLP-1 drug suppressed the hunger pains. What this does is it takes away that signal. But there's a catch. Well, several catches actually, because with anything that sounds too good to be true...
there are real signs. That's what I'm going through right now. I didn't eat anything pretty much damn near almost all day, all morning, since the morning time, and I didn't eat dinner, and now I literally just was having real stomach pains right now in my stomach, and now I'm eating food, and I know my body's probably happy as hell that it's finally eating something.
There always are. First, Ozempic only works as long as you take it. When patients stop, their appetite comes roaring back. And if they haven't learned better eating habits during those months and years of Ozempic treatments, a lot of their weight will come back along with it. One trial in 2022 found that on average, people regained 2/3 of the weight they lost on Ozempic within just a year of stopping treatment. That is one of those things that people misunderstand about the drug. It's not a cure, it's a long-term treatment. If you want to keep the weight off forever, you'll have to do the harder work of learning conscious portion control and healthier eating yourself. Or you'll have to take Ozempic forever. Better be rich if that's your choice. More on that later. It also probably won't work as well as it did in clinical studies. One study found that in the real world, GLP-1 medications helped people lose about 5% of their body weight compared to the 15% reported in studies. Still good, but far short of what most people imagine. Lucas Veritas, author of the GLP-1 Effect newsletter, points out this problem and how it can cause huge disappointment in Ozempic users. Expectations are sky high. People see all the before and after photos and they expect an easy ride. But there's another side to the story. Ozempic comes with side effects that most people aren't talking about yet. Many users have reported nausea, vomiting, and fatigue, to the point where not only were they having difficulty eating, they were having difficulty doing almost anything. Celebrities have come out with stories of their failed Ozempic use due to horrific side effects. In an interview, Amy Schumer said, "I was one of those people that felt so sick and couldn't play with my son. I was so skinny and he's throwing a ball at me and I couldn't." She's not the only one. Stephen Fry said of his experience, "I started feeling sick and I started getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I was literally throwing up 4 or 5 times a day and I thought, I can't do this." So that's it. Honestly, if that's your Ozempic experience, eating smaller portions and more vegetables actually does sound like an easier path to weight loss. According to most doctors, symptoms like nausea and fatigue usually resolve within a few weeks. Nutrition and diabetes expert Dr. Aaron Polinsky-Wade says these side effects are seen in the first few weeks of therapy as well as when dosing is increased. But that's not always the case. For some people, the side effects are so bad, it's just not worth it. Symptoms can also get much worse than that. Some severe side effects include pancreatitis, intestinal blockage, gastroparesis, and gallbladder problems. Doctors are also concerned about a possible link between Ozempic use and thyroid tumors. Because when clinical studies were done in animals, Ozempic did increase the risk of medullary thyroid cancer, which is why the drug is actually not recommended for those with a family history of the disease. Some researchers point to the fact that no link has been found between Ozempic and thyroid tumors in humans, but others say that since Ozempic has only been on the market since 2017, it's really hard to know what the long-term effects on humans will be at this point. It's just too early, which also means it's too early to know what most long-term effects of Ozempic use will be. However, for many obese patients, doctors weigh the risks and advantages and often decide to recommend a semaglutide medication anyway. Since Ozempic decreases the risk of heart failure, heart disease, strokes, and over 40 other conditions, many of which are worsened by obesity. That's how medicine works. The pros of taking a medication are weighed against the risks of taking it, depending on the patient's specific health issues and medical history. But a lot of people using Ozempic aren't obese, nor do they have type 2 diabetes, the disease Ozempic was originally meant to treat. According to Healthline, 13% of Americans, more than 1 in 8, has used a GLP-1 agonist. While older people mostly use them for diabetes and heart disease, younger people use GLP-1s mostly for weight loss. 7% of 18 to 29-year-olds reported using GLP-1 drugs for weight loss, as did 6% of 30 to 49-year-olds. Many people using the drug are on the slim side of overweight or even have a BMI entirely within the normal range. And yes, we know BMI has its problems, but that's a different conversation for a different video. The point is, a lot of people using Ozempic are not at a weight that's causing considerable risks to their health or quality of life, so the pros and cons list of taking Ozempic looks different for them. And using Ozempic for purely cosmetic weight loss is not recommended. As Ariana Chow says, medical director at UPenn's Center for Weight and Eating Disorders, there is no scientific evidence to show whether this medication will be effective or of benefit to those who do not fit the criteria, such as people with a BMI lower than 27. She adds, "We also do not know the side effects or risks in these populations," meaning not only was Ozempic never meant to treat people who want to fit into their wedding dress, lose those pesky 15 pounds before summer, or conform to their industry's troubling strict beauty standards, hello Hollywood and influencers, scientists don't even know what the side effects for those populations could be. But people continue to use Ozempic for a quick fix. And it's not a cheap fix either, because the other issue with Ozempic, it's expensive. In the US, it costs almost $1,000 per
God damn! Y'all extravagant.
month. Insurance covers it for people who use it for type 2 diabetes. But most insurance companies won't cover it for those using Ozempic for weight loss. By law, Medicare can't cover it for that reason, especially if those patients aren't obese, in which case, no medical justification can be provided. This doesn't even include the 8 to 9% of the US population that has no health insurance. Of course, the US is famous for its expensive medications and healthcare, so maybe it's not the best example, but the cost in other OECD countries isn't tiny either. The price of Ozempic ranges between $83 in France and $169 in Japan per month. And this is a medication most people will have to take for the rest of their lives if they want to keep seeing results. It adds up. But the price hasn't stopped Ozempic from flying off the shelves, which created another controversy around the drug. The fact that people using it for cosmetic weight loss were making it unavailable for those who really needed it. Actor Anthony Anderson, who has type 2 diabetes, said of the hype around Ozempic, "It's creating a shortage for those of us who need the medicine, not for weight loss issues, but for our health." The entire world experienced an Ozempic shortage from April 2022 to April 2025. In the US, the FDA officially declared the shortage over in February. In other countries like Australia, supplies will still be limited for a while. While supplies of Ozempic were low, many people with type 2 diabetes could not get the medication they had come to rely on in order to survive. Blood sugar spikes in people with type 2 diabetes can cause potentially fatal issues like stroke and heart disease, in addition to kidney disease and hearing loss.
You risking people's lives to have a good image.
One Seattle resident with type 2 diabetes, Shane Anthony, was interviewed after going more than 2 months without his Ozempic dose. His blood sugar levels shot back up. He told reporters, "It really makes me mad. It infuriates me. We need it to stay alive and keep functioning on an everyday basis." The shortage may be over for now, but with skyrocketing popularity of Ozempic, there might be another one in the future, especially as people continue to use it without medical prescriptions or even against medical guidance. There's one last but important issue with Ozempic. It's not guaranteed to make you lose weight. It does reduce hunger, but some people who have issues with their weight don't eat because they're hungry. A 2021 clinical trial found that 86.2% of 800 participants experienced clinically significant weight loss after taking semaglutide for 68 weeks, which is great. But that also means that 13.8% didn't after almost 16 months on Ozempic or one of its competitors. How is that possible? Well, beyond things like missed doses, underlying health issues, or other medications that interfere with Ozempic, there are a couple of major reasons it might stop working or stop making you thinner. Dr. Megan Garcia-Webb says, for patients who have an obesity issue and binge eating disorder, sometimes the binge eating will correct itself with the GLP-1 agonist, but not always. In other words, a drug that makes you less hungry won't help much if you have an eating disorder that drives you to eat even when you're not hungry, which is why underlying physical and psychological disorders that could be causing weight gain have to be treated before resorting to Ozempic. These also include things like binge eating disorders, hypothyroidism, and chronic insomnia. After initially losing weight on the drug, Tracy Morgan shared on a talk show, "I learned to out-eat Ozempic. I've gained 40 pounds. What's the other reason Ozempic might not work for weight loss? Because those who take it might rely too much on it and not change things in their actual life. When clinical trials were done on Ozempic, participants also were encouraged to make lifestyle changes, like exercising regularly, getting good quality sleep, and eating a plant-forward diet. In other words, everything that leads to weight loss, which explains in part why Ozempic users in clinical trials lost so much more weight than Ozempic users in the real world. Ozempic definitely did its part by making the weight loss easier and more visible, but participants were encouraged to do their part too. If patients follow this philosophy while taking Ozempic, it's way more likely to work and make them feel better about themselves on their weight loss journey as well. That was the experience Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family had, who originally started taking competitor drug Mounjaro. And yes, we are quoting a lot of celebrities because they are the people talking a lot about Ozempic. He said, "It changed my lifestyle, changed my approach to eating, changed my approach to exercise. I felt like if I don't do something along with it, I am disappointing it." All that being said, Ozempic has changed many people's lives, and not just those suffering from type 2 diabetes. People who have struggled with either obesity or weight loss for years are finally seeing results. Many are seeing their health improve, because for some, doing all the right things to lose weight just wasn't working. That includes people who definitely know something about discipline, like Serena Williams. She said, "I had never taken shortcuts in my career and always worked really hard. So it was very frustrating to do all the same things and never be able to change the number on the scale or the way my body looked. I lost over 31 pounds using my GLP-1, and I was really excited about that weight loss." Oprah, who uses a weight loss drug as well, said, "The fact that there's a medically approved prescription for managing weight and staying healthier in my lifetime feels like relief, like redemption, like a gift. There's no denying it, Ozempic does work, just not the way the internet thinks it does." As Dr. Cristina Del Toro Badesa told The Guardian, "What's dangerous is the dominant societal narrative that these are magic shots for weight loss. It doesn't magically melt fat, it just changes how your brain regulates hunger. It's a powerful drug for sure, but it's not a miracle and it's not a cure. The real question isn't whether Ozempic works, it's whether people can live with the cost, the side effects, and the idea of needing a shot every week for the rest of their lives." Ozempic might be changing lives, but not every medical break.
Is it changing lives for the better or for the worse? You let me know in the comments down below.